who almost did everything in his life. He was a good student, then he became a teacher in Punjab University, then in Delhi School, then he joined as an advisor to Finance Ministry, became Chief Economic Advisor, worked at UNCTAD, then he came back, became a Deputy Chairman of Planning Commission, Governor Reserve Bank, and then Finance Minister, and finally the Prime Minister. So, a teacher rising to such positions, an academician rising to such positions merely through his academics is only possible in India. That is why I do not think of him as a person, but as an institution. This lecture that I am going to deliver, basically I started with this handicap because only yesterday it was told to me that I have to deliver this lecture. So I couldn't structure my lecture because simply, to speak about such a person and to add with certain topics is very difficult. The topic that I am going to discuss is the debate of divergence. And then I would like to show or demonstrate to you people how Dr. Manmohan Singh did such brilliant things to India. Why I have taken up this topic is because this is a burning topic in the sense that 3 Nobel Prizes have been awarded in this very year for this topic. Why countries are different in prosperity. Certain countries are rich and prosperous, while other countries are poor, underdeveloped, backward, and whatever you may call them. Now these 3 economists, everybody knows their name, McMahon, Robinson and Johnson. They all, naturally, most of the Nobel Prize winners belong to the United States, so we shall not take the name of that place. In that matter, Nobel Prize is very extractive, not very inclusive. No many persons find many places in Nobel Prizes these days. Now they have started a different kind of debate. I want to tell you about this debate and tell you how India is moving ahead and what Manmohan Singh did it, because it's a tribute lecture. So I would like to demonstrate how much Manmohan Singh shaped the destiny of India and why we always declare Nehru Mohanladis model. We never talk of Rao Manmohan Singh model that has changed the India since 1991. I start with what they want to see. The first thing is, let us be very clear, all the countries in the world, whether it is United States, USSR, Britain, France, or India, Ghana, Cuba, whatever you name them, they have to start from scratch. All were underdeveloped, purely agricultural. Some were developed in 7th and 8th centuries. There were certain very great civilizations, say Mesopotamia, Sindhu Ghati and others. But by 1700, no country in the world had passed the agricultural stage. Now just remember 2 important data. At that time, the population of the world was 1 billion. And the total GDP of the globe was 1 trillion. This is very important. Because out of this 1 trillion, India produced 25% of the global GDP. So India was one of the topmost producer in that sense in the global production. And come 2000, the global population has reached 7.5 and the global production reached $100 trillion. So the population increased by 7.5 and the global production reached to nearly $100 trillion. From this, nearly 25% was produced by United States and less than 1% by India. Now, India's total GDP was around $1.2 billion, while United States was nearly $23.3 trillion. India and China was a bit ahead in 2000. And come 25 years later, say 2024, now the population is 8.5 billion and it is going to touch 9.5 billion by 2050. What has happened to India? It has grown. Now we are nearly $4 trillion. That means we are producing 4% of the world global GDP, while United States is producing 24% 24.7% of the GDP. Next is followed by China, around 16 trillions. All the countries started from the same place, but now there are certain countries which are very rich, prosperous, industrial, united, while the others are much behind. This is what we call as divergence. Divergence started somewhere around 18th century when the industrial revolution started, and United Kingdom and its colonies developed faster than others. Then the whole Europe went ahead. But by 1870 or 75, United States had moved ahead of others. This divergence began to grow. The poor became poorer, the rich became richer. The concentration of wealth was much higher in Europe and United States, while Africa, Latin America, Asia, all other countries were lagging far behind. Many theories started coming up. Because all of you are students of economics here, we can take up certain theories by naming them only. For example, John Hicks was the first person who said the size matters. United States and USSR are big in size, and that is why they can grow faster, because they have different geography, they have got different fertile lands, they have got all kind of material with them, they will grow faster. The smaller countries cannot grow faster unless and until they trade. Because by trade they can increase their production, the scale of size, and then they can increase. By 1950s, lot of economists, you know all of them, Rosenstein, Rodin, Liebenstein, Lewis, name them. They all started telling you why the divergence was created. Some said it was population, high population doesn't allow growth. Some say it was lack of capital, some said it was lack of trade. You all know these theories. But they started a new concept known as low-level income equilibrium trap. Nelson said it, that this trap cannot be removed until unless. Rosenstein and Rodin also said that a book is required to promote these countries, and they do not have so much of capital. So Hirschman came up with another model, and he said, develop certain sectors and they will pull other sectors out. Now these were theories that were discussed all over by United Nations, IMF, IBRD, and all of these countries were looked at very poorly. Later on in 1990s, they developed another theory that was known as indigenous growth theory. They said the poor countries do not actually invest in social infrastructure. They do not invest in health. They do not invest in education. They do not invest in other things. And that is why they are poor. Now in next century, that is in 21st century, these three writers who have been given Nobel Prize are writing something different. They have written a book, Why Nations Fail, and in this book, they say that it is not geography, it is not capital, it is not technology, it is not information which makes a country prosperous. It is institutions that make a country prosperous. If you have got good political and economic institutions, you will grow. Otherwise, you will not grow. They also came up with the idea that middle income trap, that certain countries have graduated from low income, but they are trapped in middle income group. IMF now divides countries into 4 groups. The rich countries above $15,000 per capita, between 2,000 to 14,000, it is low middle income, and then high middle income, and below that they call it as poor countries. Now they say that these middle income countries will not reach high income or prosperous. Why? Because they do not have good institutions. Now they do not define institutions. What they do is they try to give examples from history. And by this history, they prove that countries which good institutions, what these are, let us clearly define what institution is. It's a method, it's a, you can say, a mechanism by which we create certain goals and objectives to be achieved. In India, caste system is an institution, family is an institution. These are social institutions. We have economic institutions, we have budget, we have all other kind of things. We have legal institutions, court and other things. We have academic institutions. But they do not think of these institutions. They are telling of only 2, economics and politics. Economic institutions especially. And what they talk about is free trade, privatization, no government interference, etc., etc. And what political means is there shall always be democracy. No monarchy can get up, no aristocracy can get up. And they give examples. For example, they start with an example of North Korea and South Korea. They say North Korea, you look at the map in the night, you will find everywhere dark except the king's palace. In South Korea, everywhere is lighted because they have a democracy. North Korea doesn't have a democracy. In China, they say there is a one-party rule. Again, this is not good. In Mexico, again, there is monopolism, and that is also not good. There are Middle Eastern countries where they have monarchy, that is also not good. Democracy is the basic condition. Economic policies may fail, but if politics fails, according to them, nothing is going to make you prosperous. So you have to make changes. You have to make changes in the sense that your institutions must be inclusive. Inclusive means they should include all persons. Inclusive also means that every people is guaranteed legal rights, property rights, so that they can invest anywhere and they get profit out of that, and others are extraneous institutions, extractive institutions.